coming to you live from the Built Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti, it's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network. And wherever you are in the free Odyssey app, good Monday morning. Boomer will be back tomorrow. That means we've got Jerry in for Boomer, CeeLo in for Jerry. Good morning, Jerry. How are you?
Jay, what's up, man?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing okay. Are you doing okay?
Yeah, very well, actually.
You're healthy. There's no issues
Good.
at all.
Had a great weekend, and off to the Big Ten tournament this week. So
yeah,
all is good.
Yeah, I had a great weekend as well. However, these injuries piling up was the only thing that was really negative. And then this is going to be a huge week for the NFL, by the way. It already has been.
How about yesterday?
It was a huge weekend, and it's going to be today is the 12 p.m. tampering situation. I mean, I love how they do legal tampering, but they tamper even before the legal tampering.
For sure.
Because there's going to be deals that happen right at noon.
At noon, you're going to see this happen, that happen, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought it just started.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question about it. It's one of the more gross rules that they have in the league.
Well, there's really no reason to have that rule, I don't think. I mean, it's just basically free agency starts. If you're a free agent, you can talk to the team that you were with, and if they don't want you, you should be able to negotiate as soon as the season's over. I mean, that's the way it should be. It's basically what happens anyway. But, yes, of course, you get the Garrett Cole news that he may need Tommy John and might be out for the year. You throw that on top of Luis Heel. That is bad news for the Yankees. And then Francisco Alvarez with the hamate bone injury, so he's going to be out for a while. And there's really just it's amazing how many injuries have piled up there. So that's a big story. But I did want to start with the wildness of the NFL and DK Metcalf getting traded to the Steelers, Geno Smith getting traded to the Raiders, Myles Garrett signing a massive contract, and now we got to see where all these other quarterbacks go, as this is going to be just wild. And really, none of them, outside of Aaron Rodgers, and I don't think he could really play much anymore, but, we're so into the NFL and things that go on in the offseason that, like, Sam Darnold and where he goes and Daniel Jones, where he ends up. Like, these are some of the things that we're talking about. And where do these guys go? And where does Kirk Cousins go? And all of these things. When these guys aren't even all that good to begin with. But it's going to be really interesting to see where the Giants and Jets end up with quarterbacks.
Well, to go back to a couple of things you said. Number one, the whole Myles Garrett. I want to go somewhere where I can win. Yeah. Or do you just want to be paid? I mean, that's the one thing that's so funny about all of these guys. I do think there's a handful of players that winning is the most important thing. But let's be honest. Money talks and BS is blah, blah, blah. You know how that phrase goes. So he goes back to Cleveland after he had to get out and trash talk them, essentially.
Remember the letter he wrote? He wrote a letter to the fans that basically said, it was never about Cleveland right to the Hall of Fame. I got to go win a championship. Sorry, guys. And then
I want $40 million a year.
Right, exactly. I talked to LeBron about this, and then he's going around Radio Row negotiating basically on the air, and then just takes the money. So he's a fraud.
So you get that. The DK Metcalf one is interesting because you don't have a quarterback in Pittsburgh right now. Did you see the Big Ben put out the video?
Yes, put the helmet on. Yeah,
so it's funny. I went and looked. So you've got, and Tom Brady played into his 40s, and you got Aaron Rodgers, whether he's good or not, is playing into his 40s. And I'm thinking, could Ben Roethlisberger? He's 43.
Yeah.
He's a little older than I thought, actually.
Yeah, he's a year older than me. I always remembered that. And I think he might be turning 44. I think his birthday is sometime in March.
Okay, so soon to be 44.
Yeah, so I think he's going to be 44 soon. But no, he's a guy that got through his NFL career with more grit and guile than physical impressiveness. Sure. Like, even though Tom Brady wasn't the greatest athlete in the world, he kept himself in phenomenal shape and was just so sharp when it came to being a quarterback. Ben was never that guy. And if you ever saw him, like, in the locker room, you'd look at him. I mean, he didn't have that look like, man, this guy could play forever.
Looked like a regular dude. Just a bigger guy. Bigger guy. So you have that in Pittsburgh, which is interesting since they do need a quarterback. You're hearing rumors of Sam Darnold now. Who the hell knows where these guys are going to go? But it's interesting. But the one that really came out of left field for me that you mentioned that I took a double take was the Seahawks trading Geno Smith to the Raiders. What?
Yeah. Well, it looks like they're going, they're trading DK Metcalf too, so they're just
rebuild.
They're going in a totally different direction. But, yeah, and for a third-round pick, by the way, Geno Smith's like 35 now.
Yeah, I know.
A third round pick. It just seems crazy that the Raiders would have given that up for Geno Smith at 35 years old. But yeah, so that ends that whole Sam Darnold thing there. And I wonder if that ends them drafting a quarterback. I don't think so.
Meaning Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas.
I wouldn't think either. I mean, if you're talking about Geno Smith being 35, my guess is that he goes to Vegas with Pete Carroll, and their idea is maybe they can be a competent football team for a year or two while the rookie quarterback they draft. Kind of like what we're looking here with the Giants. And the Jets, I suppose. You want to get a quarterback. Maybe you don't want to play him right away and have that veteran presence to kind of help him along. And next year, he's ready to play. Maybe that's what Vegas is thinking, too, and Geno Smith is their guy to do that. I don't know. He obviously knows Pete Carroll, and then the Seahawks in a complete rebuild. But it used to be, for me, baseball in November was exciting with where the players were going to go. Then it started to get dragged out, not as exciting anymore. And the NFL has completely taken over the offseason in terms of, I don't know if excitement's the right word, but intrigue with where guys go and free agent and movements, and then the draft in April. And we got two crappy teams like we had. You've got high draft picks, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers has a couple places that he could go. The Giants still a possibility.
Minnesota.
Yeah, I know.
Why does this follow you? It's
Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers. I know, it's crazy.
It's hilarious.
It really is. I don't think if they end up bringing Aaron Rodgers in, that means that there's something going on with J.J. McCarthy that they're not letting on, because everything that you had heard early on from him is how into it he was, and how even with the injury he was there and he was studying and he's ready to go. If they bring in Aaron Rodgers and don't hand the keys over to J.J. McCarthy, that means that he is still hurt or he's not mature enough. And the latter, I kind of think, is maybe what's going on.
Or maybe they don't think he'll be 100% at the start of the season, but might be maybe towards October, November. All of those are possibilities. We don't know.
It's a tough thing to bench Aaron Rodgers, though, unless he's playing terrible or he's hurt.
I do agree with that. I will tell you, the leader in the clubhouse for me was Aaron Rodgers to the Giants, just because I thought it would be fun around here.
Yeah.
And we could have to deal with him again for one more year, right, wrong, or indifferent. But I got to tell you, Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings just surpassed that for me, because to have to watch you root for him would be phenomenal.
Well, I already did this with Brett Favre.
Oh, I know, but now you're sitting here with us.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, in the Brett Favre thing, I hated it when it first happened. I said, this is not the way I want things to go. And I said, even if he played well, it'd be like we're doing it with the Packers guy. But then that changed really quickly with the season.
Played off the charts.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't throw any picks in the regular season. He threw the big pick in the NFC Championship game, obviously. But I mean, it was awesome to watch. I got over that really quickly. Yeah. And I'd get over the Aaron Rodgers thing, too. If he played well, I just don't think he's going to be able to stay healthy. I just really don't believe that. And I also don't think that he has, Brett Favre had this thing out for the Packers, and I'm not sure that Aaron Rodgers has that same thing out for the Packers, because Brett Favre was trying to get to Minnesota before he ended up going to the Jets. Aaron Rodgers wanted to go to the Jets.
Correct.
And the reason why Brett Favre wanted to go to Minnesota is so he could beat the Packers. That's what he wanted to do. So I just don't see, I would think for Aaron Rodgers, I would say that the Steelers and the Vikings are two good places for him to land. But if the Vikings are actually interested in him, he probably should go there. But then again, he's living Brett Favre's life.
I thought that, too. I said that to my son last night. Is he trying to be Brett Favre? What the hell is he doing? But that having been said, if you just talk about talent that would be on a roster and an offense that he would go to, boy, I'm not saying Sam Darnold didn't play great last year. He did. But that's a hell of an offensive team that he was playing for and under center for. And if I was Aaron Rodgers and I'm looking around, that's pretty good. You got arguably the best receiver in the game there. Their offensive line is pretty damn good. And all of a sudden, if you're talking about him dropping back, surveying the field, he can still throw the ball. It could be interesting.
Yeah, and then he would have to listen to Kevin O'Connell, though. That's the thing. He's got to come in. He can't do the stuff that he's been doing his entire career. He's got to listen to a coach. And I don't know if he's capable of that either. I don't want it to happen, because I just think that he's destined to get hurt and it's just going to be a failure. But I'm a little bit worried about this J.J. McCarthy. I was always worried about him. Eddie plays the clip when I said this guy's going to stink in the NFL. But if they draft this guy number 10 overall. They're all jacked up about it. He gets hurt. He's out for the whole year. And now we're talking about, and he got hurt early. That was training camp. So now we're talking about maybe him not starting this year. with all those guys that you drafted last year, the draft starting and having success, that means something's up.
And you are right that it would be hard to bench Aaron Rodgers unless he was atrocious, obviously. But if he's playing even mediocre and the team's okay and keeping their head above water, it could be a completely lost year for McCarthy again. Very possible.
Yeah, I think Daniel Jones is going to be their starting quarterback to start the season. I honestly believe that the Vikings are going to start the season with Daniel Jones as their starting quarterback and J.J. McCarthy backing up, and then we'll see what happens.
Something? My God.
Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones.
I mean,
all you need is Zach Wilson to somehow pop in there, right?
Yes, exactly.
My Lord.
Maybe the Giants sign Zach Wilson. Who knows?
Yeah. And I don't know what the hell they're going to do. I don't think Aaron Rodgers goes there. But I guess the Jets now are very interested in Justin Fields.
Yeah, I know. So what you said in the beginning is so true. Like we're so jacked up about the NFL and the player movement and the names, and yet while we talk about these quarterbacks, they're all average. Like a lot of them, I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them are very average quarterbacks. But it's almost like we're hoping that by putting on a different jersey and different colors, that all of a sudden, maybe if Justin Fields comes to the Jets, things click in the NFL for him. You know, there's a lot of people that will tell you, and I didn't watch the Steelers every week when he started, but I know where they were 4-2, I think, when he was starting. They were winning games. And there would be people that would tell you if you would have given him the opportunity to continue, he would have got better and better. So maybe the Jets saw that. I don't know. He is a kid with a lot of ability. He can play different ways, as we know. Maybe today's NFL maybe suits him. But he has not been a great quarterback in the league yet, and that would be, okay, Justin Fields. All right.
Yeah, I mean, he's young. He's athletic. He could be exciting. I mean, it's definitely different than bringing in a dusty Aaron Rodgers for another year or Kirk Cousins. But this year for the Jets is, I know that people look at this roster and think that they can win right away because everybody was so excited about what they could do when Aaron Rodgers got here because of all the players that they have.
Yeah.
These guys, to me, they're most of them are overrated because they haven't done a damn thing.
Right. And let's talk about the defense specifically, because there have been games over the last couple of years that one stop and they win the game and unable to get off the field.
Yeah, so how good really is the roster? So, I mean, I think that this year is about, establishing whatever Aaron Glenn wants this team and this culture to be. And although they're going to want to win games, of course, they're not doing what the Giants are doing, meaning that they have to find a way to keep their jobs. They've got a pass this year, Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji. They basically have a pass. They can't go 1-16 or whatever. But they're just trying to get all the gunk out of the building and start over and try to be the regime that turns this thing around. Where Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen are just spinning on, around and around with no quarterback in a year that basically, they're in front of the firing squad.
Very much so. And remember when you say they get a pass, and it's their first year, of course they will get a pass. There's no doubt. But remember the last time we did that with a coach around here? His name was Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
And he went into a season with a stripped-down roster where we knew it was going to be bad. And we knew that they were going to be in the top 5 of the NFL draft the next year. And we knew that he was coming back. Until he didn't. Mm-hmm. And until it got so bad that was out the window, the whole pass thing, because they were just dreadful. Even though they played the way we kind of thought they would play, then he was out. And I'm not saying Todd Bowles should have stayed and he was a great coach. Not at all. But we went into a season saying this is going to be a bad year for the Jets. They lack talent. It's about next year and beyond. And yet still it was heave-ho.
Yeah, and we've seen guys get fired now, not even finishing out the first year in places. And after the first year as well, like Frank Reich in Carolina, Nate Hackett with the Broncos, Steve Wilkes got fired after 1 year in Arizona.
We just saw with Antonio Pierce, a year and a half, but still he got the permanent job, and 1 year in, out.
Yeah. So I mean,
It doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't.
You win or you get fired. Like, that's it.
Well, it's got to look like something's happening.
I agree with that, too. Right. You can make a case the Giants could end up going 5-12. God dare I say it. 5-12 this year, but they look like an NFL football team, and they're scoring points, and they're young, and they're figuring it out. I agree with you. But in the end, you got to win.
Well, in that scenario, it has to be a young quarterback that's out there looking like he could be the future. That's the only way. And I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to trade up to get him. I mean, they desperately wanted Matthew Stafford, which told me a lot about how they felt about these guys in the draft. But it's going to go fast and furious, man. I mean, there's probably guys right now that are at MetLife Stadium and at Florham Park.
You're probably right
from
about that.
other teams that are going to be signing contracts and are getting up in that hotel there that's right next to the Jets facility. Yeah. They're going to walk in there and sign a deal, and then at noon they're going to have like a little lunch spread and a cheers.
Here's what I watched 60 Minutes last night with Danny Hurley, and he was talking about, and this is college sports, and my point is with the NFL, you know what's happening if it's happening in college. Danny Hurley said that he believes 50%. Now, think about what this program has done at UConn the last couple of years. National champions, maybe a little bit of a down year this year, but they still won 20 games. They're still going to the NCAA tournament, so there's still a lot that they've accomplished and can accomplish. He said on the show last night that he believes more than 50% of his roster are already, their minds are in the transfer portal, and worse, probably already know where they're going next year and what kind of NIL they're going to get. So that's college athletics. Now you bring it to the NFL where the season's been over. You've got the tampering period starting today at noon. They can actually sign deals Wednesday at 3 o'clock. You're damn well right that they know what they're doing. They've talked to people already, and they probably are on the premises this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Like, who's going to stop them?
Nobody. And the NFL shouldn't, by the way, because it makes for great entertainment. And it's an off season that everybody's going to talk about. And we talk constantly about how slow the baseball off season is and how annoying that is.
Oh,
and
brutal.
The NFL is the exact opposite.
Yep.
And it's just going to go for the rest of the week. All right, Boomer and Gio with Jerry in for Boomer this morning. We've got CeeLo with us. He'll give us his first update of the morning coming up next. Some weather for you right now.